Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Disqualified. I am Trevin, joined as always by Caleb.
Hola!
And Zach, as always, is behind the camera.
And we are here to talk about NXT.
Yeah.
You know, like we say every week, the greatest weekly show going in WWE.
And a lot happened this week. A lot of good things, a couple bad things, but...
Yeah, some middling things, some things that are just like, could take or miss. One very good main event, some very decent matches in between, but let's get to the first match. And what is our first match, Trevin June?
We have Jordynne Grace versus Jada Parker, potentially for number one contendership against Stephanie Vaquer, who is at ringside.
And this was a very, very, very hard-hitting match.
Yes.
These two ladies, no love lost, as they say. They went at it. There was one little slip-up on a suicide dive. And I want to take this time to ask, how do you feel about the overuse of suicide dives in today's wrestling? You weren't a fan of the product back in the day, but I've noticed it's kind of like with the three-pointer in today's NBA. The suicide dives are just like a connecting move. They're like a mid-move.
They're the move you use to signal a commercial break.
Yeah.
Or transition.
Yeah, they're like a transitional move.
Yeah. I don't hate it because as I mentioned, it's a signal for a commercial break. It is a good commercial break signal because that means that a decent chunk of the commercial break won't have any action as they're going to spend it recovering and getting back in the ring, which is like, it means I'm not missing any action. However, I feel like much like what's become of the spear in recent history, people need to try to add their own flair to it. Like I feel like a Braun Breaker suicide dive, how he just torpedoes himself, should be a little different than when, say, Rey Mysterio might do a suicide dive, which is he just hops the top rope.
Or when Ray does it, he does a different version of it, where he waits for his opponent to be laid out on the ground, and then he does like a penguin slide under the bottom rope, and then
or another example that's in NXT, Javon Evans just high jumps the top rope. Some people, instead of a suicide dive, use a swanton.
What I like and what I would love to see more of are like tope moves. And if you don't know the termination, like the word for it, it is like when you step off the rope and then you dive, like a tope con hilo, tope suicida is one. I would just like to see people use the rope more. Like, for a perfect example, I mean, it's not the perfect example because he didn't really use the rope, but Joaquin Wilde, what he did on Raw was literally pitch perfect. It's like what I want from those spots.
Using people as literal steps to be like, and I'm out.
And he literally went to Instagram and he's like, I don't get matches weekly on TV, so whenever I do, I gotta make sure I make those moments count.
But even pointing back on someone who was on Raw on Monday, Lyra Valkyria, instead of suicide diving, she uses the ropes to support a drop kick on her opponent. And it's like, that's smart because it keeps you in the ring and them out of the ring.
Yep. And since you never crossed that line, the count doesn't have to restart.
Yep.
But yeah, so the ending of it does see the mistimed suicide dive. I just don't think Grace got her legs high enough.
Yeah.
They clipped the rope. She's good. Thankfully, no injuries. A lot of the time when you see people's legs get caught on the rope, that usually leads to injuries. But she was good. It led to the spot where she was supposed to dive into Parker. Parker goes into Stephanie, and then we get the brawl. That's
Yeah.
what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, but
She landed short, pushed Parker, and that started the brawl.
Yes. And the brawl ensues. It leads to Stephanie laying hands on both contestants, which causes the ref to end it in a no contest. And I mean, Stephanie's outnumbered. Both these people want a title shot, and this makes the math funky. However, the math is no longer funky, as whose music hits, Caleb?
The beautiful Madness is back, and she has blue hair, which in WWE, I guess, means heel turn now.
Yep.
Sasha did it when she was there.
As Julia does help clear the ring, but then after the ring gets cleared, hits her finisher on Stephanie and holds up the title, wanting it back.
Yeah, hitting the Northern Lights bomb, I believe, or driver, one of the two terms. But she hits it, stands tall. And we get it official for Stand and Deliver. It is going to be a fatal 4-way women's match for the NXT Women's Championship, and that will see your NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer taking on Julia, taking on Jordan Grace, and taking on Jada Parker. And since we are going to do predictions for that, I'm not going to spoil my prediction yet, but I have one that might be out of left field.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we will move on because we have the go home episode next week, and we will most likely see the contract signing.
Yes.
And now we move on
to an interesting match.
Yeah, so before the match, we see Hank and Tank talking, and they're like, but we're just not, like what's going on? We're just struggling. We can't get a win. What's happening? And we see two of the participants of this match swipe right. I don't know their names. I know one is Brad Baylor, and he is the blonde one.
Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes.
Ricky Smokes. Okay.
Thank you, website.
Yes, thank you, WWE.com. Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. I'm just aware of Brad Baylor because I've seen it, him floating around Twitter. But so they approach and they're like, look, we know that you've been looking for advice from successful teams, so just pay attention to our match tonight and we'll show you how it gets done.
They did not show him how to get it done.
Yeah, so
their opponents being Fraxium of all teams.
They get a new Tron.
Hey.
And they're also out there. They have a non-title match. And Fraxium picks up the win. Like, that is all that there is to say about the match.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yes, it was cool seeing Evolve stars on shows help with advertising as viewership and interest in the two ID shows, one being LFG, one being Evolve, have had iffy reception.
Yeah, here's my solution for Evolve. Put them in the fucking NXT arena. Just do that. Just do a taping of Evolve. Do tape maybe 1 to 2 shows at a time. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Because
they want to see people in front of people. That's how you kind of improve. You're not going to really improve with no eyes on you. This is a business for, especially in WWE, which is the biggest company in North America. In North America, it's the biggest company. You need the eyes on you training.
Yes. Yes. I mean, looking at the show Young Rock that Rock did, a lot of his, when the show finally got to him getting into WWE arc, he made it a very important point clear of in your first match in front of an audience, the make or break moment is, can you ensue a reaction?
Yeah, and if you can't get a reaction, that's a bad sign.
Yes.
It is a bad sign when you can't even get a boo. Usually if people don't like you, they're booing you. And if they
If the crowd is
are just not interested, they're
Yeah.
just gonna be silent.
if the crowd is silent, that's a bad sign. Look at PFC.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's because you can have all the skills in the ring. And I'm telling you, all the skills. Zoe Stark has all of the in-ring skills to be a huge star. Just can't cut a promo and can't get the crowd to connect with her.
Yes. It
sucks.
It's like, while this is an athletic sport, half of it is still storytelling. You gotta tell a story still. And if you can't, things are gonna fumble.
Yeah, and speaking of stories, we're going to have an interesting story leading into Stand and Deliver. So,
Yeah.
one of the qualifying matches tonight was Sol Ruka versus Jasmine Nix. And, just spoiler alert, Sol Ruka went on to win the match,
Meaning,
joining her tag team partner, Zarya, in the women's ladder match
yup.
at Stand and Deliver for the NXT Women's North American Championship.
Yeah. And it
It was a great
cool
match.
It was a very good match. I'm glad to see.
Interesting,
Yeah.
because in backstage before this, we see Fatal Influence.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna put the two names together of the factions that JC was in because they're the same faction. Fatal Influence are in the back, and Fallon says, "Look, one of the members of Fatal Influence gets a shot, and it's gonna be me." JC says, "No, you've already held the title. Let it be me." And then Jasmine comes out of nowhere and just says, "You know what? It's neither of you. It's me." And she loses the match.
Yep.
But of course, she gets her soul snatched. So,
Yeah.
what a way to lose. What a way to lose. Now, we move back. We go back to Hank and Tank.
Yep.
And now they have a match with The Culling. And going into this match,
You thought Hank and Tank had it.
I thought they had it. I thought this was the way that they get the win.
Yep, because they were just like, you know what? We're just gonna do out there, try our best.
And Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance of The Culling get the win on Hank and Tank. You know what?
It was a pretty good match, though.
They got me rooting for Hank and Tank. I want to see them win at this point. I don't know what it's going to take to get them to win, but I want to see it happen.
But in a segment after the match, we see Hank and Tank upset. They're like, we have legit tried everything. Why is nothing working? And none other than one of
The best tag team in WWE. I am sorry. It needs to be said. The Street Profits appear on our screen, and they give these two men
the pep talk of their lives.
not even a pep talk, a fucking sermon.
Yup.
They fucking preach the hell out of these two boys.
To summarize them, they're just like, the reason y'all losing is because y'all don't know who you are.
They're like, you're trying to be someone you're not. And now we have a tag team gauntlet match next week. We don't know the teams.
But it is.
I think it is going to be Hank and Tank walking out of the gauntlet.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is for Fraxium's opponents for the titles at Stand and Deliver.
Unless two members of Darkseid are in there.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see that Hank and Tank don't walk out winners. But Montez afterwards, I just love how pumped he gets. He's like, it is WrestleMania season, and now it is time to stand and deliver. And they just march out.
And he held that of deliver for so long.
Montez Ford, give the man a mic, and he's going to get anyone hyped up. I promise you that.
Yup.
And now we move on to what was honestly another very entertaining and hyped up segment.
Yup.
Kind of for the wrong reasons. We got another little promo PR nightmare.
Yeah. But it starts off with Ricky Saints addressing the crowd, addressing how he wants his reign to go, and that he plans on having his first defense at Stand and Deliver.
And he said he most notably calls out Ethan Page. And whose music hits but Lexus King?
What's with all these former AEW people wanting to interrupt Ricky?
It makes sense. Get all those feuds out the way so
Yeah.
people can stop talking about them.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Lexus comes out and he says, look, I want a shot at it. I have my championship, but I want yours.
Yep.
And here comes Wesley next. And, no.
No, it.
It is, okay, Eddie
Yeah.
comes out next.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he doesn't want to fight for the NXT title anymore. He doesn't need that. He wants to fight for the title that represents his people. And you know what?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I can get
Yep.
behind that. I hate that they're kind of doing the it's not even foreign gimmick, heel gimmick.
Yeah, it's literally like Native American push that gimmick.
Yeah. And they're using him as a foreign
Yes.
heel.
This
which is
yes.
stupid.
This gimmick does lead to the PR nightmare that we brought up earlier. But first, Wesley comes out and is like, listen, I made that title famous. If you're looking for a good stand and deliver opponent.
Yeah, it's me. And here comes the line of all lines.
Yep,
Eddie Thorpe.
Yeah.
What did Lexus say?
Lexus starts saying, like, listen, you had your reign. It's time for people who have earned it, who deserve it, to get the shot.
And Eddie goes, of course, another rich white man is incontent with his life. Is like not content with his
And
life.
Wesley's face says it all. He's just like, bruh.
Look, this is a joke I would make with
Ricky's face.
Oh, this is a joke I'd make with these two off camera. But like that is not something
you
say on TV.
No. Cause
I love it, though.
Cause I'm sorry, Eddie, you white passing.
I love it.
Like
though.
you are the second whitest man in the ring currently.
I love it though. I love it though. It is real wrestling is back. Fuck your script. I'm gonna say what the fuck I want. Also, I love how Ricky Saints is just holding his belt like this. It's not even wrapped around him. It is closed, and he's just. It looks like the bad Photoshop renders they have.
Eddie was tired of people not paying attention to him, and this got people's eyes on him now.
And then he tweeted out the exact same reaction that we're all laughing at on Wesley's face today. At the end of this, to
Yes,
save
Ricky's
us-
just like, listen, I have someone I want for this title. Yeah, Ricky's like, listen, I have someone in mind for me to face in a title, and the person, as if he's a mind reader, decides from out of nowhere to attack Ricky. It's Ethan Page hitting the twisted grin and then going to grab the title, which leads to the other three men going to grab the title, and a brawl ensues.
I see this leading to a 6-man.
Who's the sixth?
The former champion, Sean.
Oh yeah, because people are asking like, didn't Sean come out asking for a rematch?
The only two WWE guys are going to be Wes and Eddie.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. You don't have to run the separate feuds with Lexus, Ethan, and Sean. Mainly because they're just going to be the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They did not confirm it's becoming a fatal 5.
Or a 6-man match.
Yeah,
but
a 6-man
I think
or
it's gonna be that.
A 6-man or fatal 5-way with the 5 men in the ring at this. We could see a fatal 4-way number 1 contendership next week, but that feels a little late, and it would make it obvious that Ethan's winning.
But you know what else was obvious? Wesley's match was coming up because he was the only one that came out in his ring gear.
Yeah.
So it is now Wesley versus Yoshiki Inumura. Inumura got screen time on my TV, and I was pumped. I was ready.
Yup, and this match cooked.
Oh, Wesley and Inumura, please give them a 7-match series.
Please.
Let them feed my family. Yeah, they
Feed my soul.
they just had a good old
Yep.
classic great
Yep.
match.
Wesley high flying and Inumura just being a brick wall.
Yep. In the end, Wesley does pick up the win, gaining some huge momentum
Yep.
for Stand and Deliver. And now we get someone else gaining some momentum going into Stand and Deliver. And now, who is that, Trevin?
We have another ladder match qualifier between representing the Calling Izzy Damon, representing NQCC Ren Sinclair.
The wrong woman won.
Yeah.
Give me
And-
Ren Sinclair more.
Yep.
Yeah, but in the end, Izzy Dame does pick up the win.
Did she though?
Yeah, so about that pinfall win. So, Izzy hits her finisher.
Yep.
I am not going to pretend to be knowledgeable and say what it is. Actually, wait. Go back. Rewind the clip.
Yeah. I think it's just a basic power bomb.
No. Rewind it more. I think it's actually just like a sitting spine buster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. That's just like a set out spine buster.
Yep.
Okay. She hits it. The ref slides, and I think
Yeah.
Izzy hears the ref sliding in and making contact with the mat
Yeah.
as one.
Yeah.
Because
but
it goes 1, 2.
the ref's arm is halfway down for 2, and then Izzy lets go before the hand hits the mat and starts celebrating early, but the ref still pats down for 3, ending the match.
Yeah. I think you could tell that Izzy was probably annoyed with herself
Yeah.
because she didn't look the happiest afterwards.
Yeah, and NQCC being good stage performers on ringside are like, how was that 3?
Yeah.
She lifted off.
Ava in a backstage segment, because we see the Meta Girls, Roxanne, and it was 2 other women. I'm forgetting who it was. But they were backstage, and they were like, well, is there going to be a last chance thing? Because there's usually a last chance thing for these.
Mhm.
Ava says no. So we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe just another 2.
Like a rematch?
I don't know. I think it's just going to be another 2 singles matches.
Yeah.
And I think they're just going to be with different people.
Yeah.
I have no idea who at this point goes on to, because I think
Yeah.
everyone that you would... I don't know. Paxley and Gigi Dolan haven't had a match.
Yeah.
Shotzi's been gone.
As
Yeah.
Lash?
Lash had her match with Zarya.
Yeah.
Oh.
Am I wrong? Did Jakara have a match?
Jakar didn't have one.
So Jakara could still have a match.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's injured or not, but Wendy Chu could come back and have a match.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like the gimmick, but
Yeah.
it's
It's an interesting
gimmick.
scenario, and there's a whole lot of people, as you see in all those backstage segments, that still want a shot.
And now, time for another interesting development or interesting situation. We have the main event of Stand Deliver, Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans versus Dark State. Their
Yep.
in-ring debut, and the debuting members are Deion Lennox, who he's not really debuting,
No. Returning man.
Cutler James, and my favorite of this group, Saquon Sugars.
Yep. The graphic they showed last week made it look like he was the one sitting out. Praise the Lord, he wasn't.
He had the most screen time in the ring for the group. He had the most time wrestled. He had a really interesting getup with like a one-piece singlet, but it was like the old school big guy one strap that also ran into like tights or like long pants.
Yes.
But hey, it was a great match. It ended pretty much with Oba and Trick
Going at each other. Yep. Going in a brawl, causing any ref insecurity that was backstage to come out to try to separate them. And Javon had to try to solo the entirety of Dark State and just couldn't.
They have a new tag finisher.
Yup.
Which I didn't think they could have anymore.
Nope.
So, it involves Dion and Cutler James hoisting Javon into the air for like they like toss him up like they do with kind of like with the 4-man powerbomb.
Mm-hmm.
Saquon is on the middle rope. He jumps, intercepts Javon midair, powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. Dark State gets the win.
Yup.
I am so happy, one, that they got the win. Because I think it's the worst thing ever when you bring a group in and then they just lose.
Yeah. And the crowd reactions for these guys were insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was like people immediately love them.
Also, yeah, there's a moment where Oba just throws a man at another man. He throws Saquon at Trick.
Yeah.
And it is just... This is what starts the brawl between the two.
Yeah.
But, yeah, afterwards...
Yep. Dark State celebrating, but then...
The family.
Yup.
And only
They're-
represented
Yeah.
by
Stacks.
on
Yep.
the Tron.
Yup.
And he challenges them.
To a parking lot brawl next week.
Now, Trevin, how excited are you for a parking lot brawl?
I'm so excited.
My thing, so, you don't remember this. Stacks, the family was a 3-man group when they came in.
Mm-hmm.
They had another guy. He failed a drug test, and then they made him sleep with the fishes.
Mm.
And I think that they said, well, it was just like a really weird thing. We're open to working with them again. If you look, they are short a member.
Yes. Because they're...
What if the OG member comes back?
Yeah. Because
Dressed as Aquaman.
unless they want to do some gender-inclusive boxing, it is 3v4.
Yeah. But that is it for this episode of NXT. We are officially almost there till Mania.
Yep.
All the roads are leading to Mania and Stand and Deliver. This has been it from us here at Disqualified. This has been your main roster predictions champion, Kayla.
Yep.
That is Trevin. That is Zach behind that camera. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell 3 times so you know the match is over. And we will see you next time. Thank you for your time. Peace.
Bye!